Lightning Overdrive is going to be one of the most hyped set yet. Revitalizing many decks, it will probably live up to be one of the best main booster sets of 2021. Now today I'm really excited to showcase the cover card archetype of Utopia and everything it has to offer. So smash that like button, high five the sky, and welcome to the archetype breakdown of ZEXAL weapon Utopia. In today's video, we'll be breaking down some of Utopia's latest upgrades, we'll look into what's new in the ZEXAL weapon arsenal, and showcase a combo using some of these new cards. And we'll also share some of my personal competitive notes about this archetype. For its playstyle. Ultimate Dragonic Utopia Ray is essentially the ZEXAL weapon playstyle of Utopia. This is an aggro rank 4 or 5 deck with a major focus to stack up your number 39 Utopia into becoming the Dragonic Utopia Ray and loading him up for the right tools for the job. The new ZEXAL server supports the ZS monsters, synergizes with the Xyz summoning of Utopia to give you quick access to basically everything you need in your kit, from the new rank up magic all the way to any of your ZEXAL weapons in the deck. The archetype's goal is to create the most ideal Utopia Ray to answer each of the individual matchups. So let's take a look at what we get from Lightning Overdrive. For our ZEXAL server monsters, we have ZS Ascending Sage and Arm Sage. Now to take a generic look at these cards, they are level 4 monsters that can easily be special summoned onto the field regardless of you're playing Utopia or not. There's no restriction that forces you into playing Xyz only or Utopia, so in other words, it's splashable in a lot of other decks. Now in terms of their effects, just as their name implies, if you Xyz summon into a Utopia specifically, then that Utopia will gain trigger effects to search a card depending on the material used. Using the Ascending Sage to Xyz summon into Utopia, the Utopia will gain the trigger to search for a rank up magic, of course, because you're ascending to the next rank. And for Arm Sage, you'll be able to search for a ZEXAL weapon monster, hence the name Arm Sage. Now let's look at our new main deck ZEXAL weapon monster, Pegasus Twin Saber. As a level 5 monster, it can special summon itself out by having a 2000 life point deficit. Nothing too unique to the ZEXAL weapon archetype because there's another one that does that. Now, as for the 2000 life point deficit, you can definitely incorporate it as a part of your strategy, but more on that in the competitive notes. The fun of this card begins when it is equipped to a monster. Once per turn, you get to negate a monster effect that activated on the field. You know what? That doesn't seem too unique at all. In fact, there's tons of other cards that negate, monster effects that activate on the field. So what makes this one any different? Well, the difference is the timing. This card does not start a chain. It is not a quick effect, and therefore, how does it even work? Like usually when you want to negate something, you chain directly to it or you chain and target it, but this one doesn't even activate. So how does it work? According to the notes, it just says you just use it right before the resolution of the card. So right before you're about to do the action, you just go, I want to negate that, and they just have to say, okay, it's negated now. Yeah, that's it. In other words, there's no room for counterplay because you're not activating anything. And secondly, what's amazing about it is you have free reign over the entire chain link, as for any part of it where a monster effect activated on the field, you get to negate that. So it's really good. And to give you guys a contextual example, Ultimate Dragonic Utopia Ray, a card that we will talk about in a quick sec, whenever he's targeted for an attack, or I guess targeted by a card effect, it can activate and equip itself with a ZEXAL weapon from the deck. And it can equip this. So say your opponent targeted with a monster effect that's about to destroy it or something. Well, then you'll activate the Utopia Ray, the Dragonic Utopia Ray, and equip this Pegasus Twin Saber. And then, you were Chainlink 2, they were Chainlink 1. Right at Chainlink 1, you'll be like, oh, I'll just negate that effect, because now it is already on the field. So that's the benefit of having this free timing of kind of running around in the chain link as long as this card is face up. So that's the benefit of this card, and it's going to be a really, really good one to kind of stop your opponents in their tracks. Now before we get into the boss monsters, let's look at Rank Up Magic ZEXAL Force, the card that will summon your boss monsters. This one turns any of your Xyz monster into a ZEXAL weapon or a Utopia monster that is 1 rank higher. And then it stacks your deck with a ZEXAL weapon or a ZEXAL server on top of the deck. And if your life point difference is 2000 or lower, You can also like banish this card to draw one card. Now that drawing effect is once per turn. However, the activation of this card ranking up something is not, so you can use the rank up magic multiple times a turn. Now for our bosses, we have a ZEXAL Weapon, Draconic Halberd, and we have Ultimate Draconic Utopia Ray. Now for the ZEXAL Weapon, Draconic Halberd, it has a whopping 3000 attack, but it feels more like a support unit than anything because it cannot attack directly. You know, it's still decent to keep on the field. Now that 3000 attack, because it can't attack directly, it can transfer its attack into a Utopia by targeting it and equipping it itself as one of its ZEXAL weapons. See, it's still fine, but don't forget to detach a material from your Draconic Halberd first to get yourself one of these ZEXAL spells and traps. Very, very essential because there's a lot of good toolboxes within that card pool. Now, once it's equipped to the monster, what does it really do? It's more like a final attack that throws all your weapons out there, because if your monster destroys a monster by battle, every single one of your ZEXAL weapons that was equipped to the monster gets launched out, and they're all free to attack again, and then more or less you get to re-equip them all at the end. So yeah, that's the best way to describe it. And to recap the Ultimate Draconic Utopia Ray, essentially he treats your deck like, I guess, his own inventory, because whenever he's targeted for an attack or targeted by a card effect, including one of your own card effects, and that's something you should do, you get to equip yourself with a ZEXAL weapon from your hand or deck, and that's going to help you load up the right tools to get the job done. Now, he's not just a mule to hold on to all your weapons. He does have another effect, and he activates it, and then for each of the equipped ZEXAL weapons, he gets to target a card on your opponent's side of the field that's face up and negate their effect. And I believe that negation is permanent. Now, to follow up from earlier, the Draconic Halberd is able to search for ZEXAL spells and traps. So, in terms of that lineup, we have ZEXAL Construction and ZEXAL Entrust. ZEXAL Construction, you get to reveal one card in your hand, and if you do, add one of the following cards from your deck to your hand, and then shuffle the revealed card back into the deck. So, it's your ultimate search card for CW monsters, ZS monsters, ZEXAL spells and traps, rank up magic, and rank down magic. Wow, this card is kind of a, a wonder kid for anything related to ZEXAL cards. Yeah, and rank up magic, rank down magic. I think you could possibly find additional uses in other decks that play rank up magic and rank down magic, such as like Phantom Knights or even Raid Raptor. I think Raid Raptor definitely can benefit off of searching rank up magics for sure. Now, in terms of the other card, Entrust more or less functions like a World Legacy card dragon, where you get to special summon out a Utopia, ZS, or ZW monster from the graveyard or add it to your hand. And of course, if you have a life point deficit, then you get the additional effect where if this card is in the graveyard, you get to banish it as long as it's not the turn that it's sent to the graveyard, and then you get to add back one of your ZEXAL spells and traps into your hand. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And for the lone trap that I really want to talk about, because this card's effect is really cool. This one has cool points. It's ZEXAL Alliance. The alternative name that I would give this card is Anime Mode Activate. Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! ZEXAL, because if a face-up XYZ monster you control is destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect, pay life points till you have exactly 10 left. Ah, yes, the typical anime plot armor life points, and special summon out one Utopia monster from your graveyard. And if you do, take one card from your deck and place it on top of the deck. Remember a card that can actually draw by banishing? Yes, we have ZEXAL Force that can draw that card. So now you guarantee whatever card that you want. You can actually make a full comeback if you have the right cards, and that special summon monster's attack becomes double, so now you have a 5,000 Utopia at least. And what else do we get? Oh, also it cannot be destroyed by battle except with a battle with a number monster. Does that plot seem familiar now? And nor can it be destroyed by card effects. Yeah, this is turning your game into Yu-Gi-Oh! ZEXAL now. Yeah, this is really cool. Let me know if you guys figure a way to use this, and which Utopia monster would you guys use to fulfill that summoning requirement? You know, let me know down in the comment section, guys. The combo to set up the ultimate Dragonic Utopia array is quite simple. If you have both sages in your hand, you can do the 2-card combo, but if you have additional wild card extenders, it gets even better. Now these cards are really easy to get into your hand. You can use ZEXAL construction or even reinforcements of the army because they are warrior monsters. Now even if you don't have specifically these 2 monsters, they can be replaced with whatever that they would search, as long as you can generate 2 monsters that are level 4 to make your Utopia. Let's begin the combo by special summoning out the Ascending Sage onto the field because you control no cards. Now followed by a special summon of the Armed Sage because the only monster you control is exactly a level 4 monster. Now XC summon into your first Utopia monster. Now you can use regular number 39 Utopia or Utopia Double. Use Utopia Double if you're worried about hand traps or disruption because that gives you a backup plan to quick effect change it into a bigger monster. Now the Utopia monster will now trigger from the materials used, adding a rank up magic ZEXAL force and also a ZEXAL weapon. My preferred choice would be the lightning blade or any ZEXAL weapon that can equip from the hand. Next, use the rank up magic to XC summon into the ZEXAL weapon Dragonic Halberd. And using the Dragonic Halberd's effect to detach specifically the Utopia, you can add a ZEXAL spell or trap into your hand. Add Entrust if you don't already have it, and if you already have it, then add another copy of ZEXAL Force. That will let you go into Dragonic Halberd when you revive your Utopia. Now using the copy of ZEXAL Entrust, you can special summon out the Utopia that was in the graveyard. And now if you have a wild card in your hand, such as ZEXAL Construction, you can activate or reveal a card in your hand, put it back into the deck, and or add an appropriate card that you need. In this case, we're going to be adding ZEXAL Force and rank up the Utopia using that ZEXAL Force. Remember, this ZEXAL Force is actually not once per turn when it comes to its on-field activation, but the draw card effect is once per turn. Now turn that into the ultimate Dragonic Utopia array. Then using your ZEXAL weapon Lightning Blade, target your Utopia array as a form to equip to it, and also chain your Utopia array to equip another ZEXAL weapon from your hand or deck, getting yourself the Pegasus Twin Saber. This is ideal for getting the additional monster negation on the field. Now Lightning Blade is a really good choice because it can substitute the effect destruction of your Utopia monster, as well as keep all of your ZEXAL weapons in your spell trap zones immune to destruction. Although the combo may seem like it costs a lot of cards to perform, there are ways to mitigate that cost. In fact, you might even come out on top in terms of card advantage. To close out with my competitive notes here, is this deck ideal for going first or second? Go second with the deck. You can build a giant monster and you can finally use it right away. I think that's much better than leaving it as a sitting deck. That's one thing. And the other thing is you don't exactly build a ton of negation. You can probably get the monster effect negation on the field. That's great. And you should always do it if you can. But the thing that you can't really do is naturally have that many negations. You can build a big wall and hope that your opponent cannot break it, but it's not the most interactive wall. And so you'll be relying on free agents that you have to draw. That's just not the right style for committing such a big boss monster, and recovery becomes an issue if you do lose your big monster. Now if you do go first, ideally you want to use Utopia Double to dodge hand traps because it has a quick effect to turn it itself into a different Utopia monster, and that includes the ultimate Dragonic Utopia array. And even though it cannot attack, this one being 5,000 attack points by base definitely can serve as a really good wall. At least you get to fetch your cards safely while keeping a monster on the field. So whatever that you committed isn't completely lost, and that's a very important thing here. Now, if you want to replenish your hand, one of the best draw engines for the deck would be XC's Change Tactic, which is exclusive to Utopia. Every single time you XC summon a Utopia monster, you get to draw one card. It's as good as it sounds, and it's also searchable with Generation Force. As long as you have an XC's monster on the field, you can search for an XC's card, and XC's Change Tactics is an XC's card. You can draw 3 to 4 cards with this, which is ideally maybe a double pot of greed for you, and it depletes your life because every single time you want to draw a card, you have to pay 500 life. If you draw 4 times, now you can probably draw an additional time with the ZEXAL Force. That's ideally pretty good. And other ways that you can kind of increase that life gap, you can also use Upstart Goblin as a deck filler to also increase it. Like even if you're running an additional card, that 1000 difference, which means you only need to use a 2-card draw to get as far as you really need to. So it's really good if you can actually keep the exchange tactic on the field, because that means you're drawing a ton of cards over time. Additionally, if you really want that life point, difference, you can try to use Predaplant Vertanaconda, because it's exactly 2000 to paper cost to activate its effect. And here's a fun tip on your side deck for this deck. For this particular deck, you can try out additional ZEXAL weapons. Literally load up your arsenal with other things, such as like maybe an eagle claw, maybe a unicorn spear to deal with like decks that can actually do something in the battle phase when they attack. Maybe you want to attack into a construct, but you don't really want your monster to blow up. You can use stuff like unicorn spear to negate the construct, or you can use eagle claw to deal with those heavy trap based matchups, so that it's similar to your or Pegasus Twin Saber. This one is just Pegasus Twin Saber for traps. Yeah, so these are some of the things that you can consider to make your boss monster even more useful for those matchups. And considering that you are going to be relying on the Utopia, I can see that you can definitely consider those in your side deck. And that concludes my archetype breakdown for the Ultimate Dragonic Utopia Ray variant of Utopias. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up button. If you guys learned a thing or two and want to see more stuff from MST.TV, hit that subscribe button and ding that notification bell. You guys are really awesome, and I'll see you guys in the next one.